Hi and welcome to Amy Learns to Cook. On the show today, we're going to do a continuation of our stand mixer challenge, and we are going to test out the Cuisinart 5.5 quart stand mixer. This stand mixer has a lot of features, and we're going to test it out using the same test that we did on our prior stand mixers to see how it performs. So join me for a continuation of my ultimate stand mixer challenge. We're going to be testing the Cuisinart. So this is the Cuisinart 5.5 quart stand mixer, and it has some interesting features, a little different from the KitchenAid. This is 800 watt, and we will see if those increased in wattage really result in better performance. It is a tilt head mixer, so you just hit this level right here and it comes up, and you install the attachments. We have the flat beater, we have the whip, and we have the dough hook, the same way that you would put it on for a KitchenAid. So it's very similar. It has the planetary action like the KitchenAid. What's interesting about this is it does have a fold feature that you can use if you've whipped egg whites or something like that, and then you want to fold them into a batter. It also has a timer here, so you can actually count up or count down. This is similar to the Breville. Kind of interesting with this type of setup. You would think because it comes up from here as opposed to here, maybe it's a little more stable than the KitchenAid, but we'll see, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to use each one of these attachments. So we're going to be doing a test for each of these attachments. We're going to be using the whip for some whipped cream. We're going to be using the paddle for some Snickerdoodles, and we're going to do some bread dough with the dough hook. It also has a splash guard here. The only thing about it is it's not open like KitchenAids. KitchenAids you can just pop on because it's like a C, so you can just pop it on at any time. This one you basically have to take the mixer apart to get it on, and then you would put your paddle on, and then we lower it down. So it works the same way. You'd put your flour in here. Oh, so one interesting thing about these is they're not burnished metal like some of the KitchenAid, so these are actually dishwasher safe. I ran these through the dishwasher and they came out fine. This mixer is on loan from a friend. She wanted me to test it like I tested the other ones. So I have to be kind of careful because I don't want to totally kill it. Otherwise, I'll be buying her a mixer. So we will see if this is a viable option instead of the KitchenAid. So the other part of the overall look and feel of the mixer is it has power hubs just like the KitchenAid, but the power hubs are a little different. So one thing that Cuisinart has that's a little different than the KitchenAid is it does have the power hubs, but it has multi-power hubs. It has one up front, which is their slow hub. And on here you can use a meat grinder, you can use sausage stuffer, all that kind of stuff, and they do sell that. They also have two more underneath here, and this whole thing comes off actually. And I got a little flour in here. And it has, this is the high-speed hub, and this is a medium, and this is a slow. So this would be for the blender attachment. This would be for the food processor. So you can get a lot of different attachments. Not quite as many as the KitchenAid. The KitchenAid has some really unique ones, especially some of the ones that they brought out recently. But they do have a fair amount of attachments. So my grade for the overall look and feel. I do like that it has dishwasher safe attachments. I do like that it has, you know, some special features with the countdown timer, though I don't know if I would really use that. I do like that it has the fold feature. I don't know how well that works, but it does have it. I think this whole hub thing with the slow, medium, and fast is a little strange. And the only thing that I think is a little weird is where the bowl attaches. It comes off fairly easy. It has this little rubber thing in here, I guess, to keep it from marring the surface. But this whole thing looks a little strange to me. It looks kind of like a aardvark's nose or something. I don't know how to explain it. It's the overall look and feel in terms of its attractiveness. It's attractive. I like the shininess. It doesn't quite come in the colors. I think it only comes in this white and sort of a black and a smoky gray color. But the overall look and feel is okay. So the overall look and feel is okay. I think I give it an A-. So we're going to make our whipped cream. And what we did is we put the bowl of the mixer and the whip into the freezer for about 15 minutes. You really want them nice and cold. And we have a cup of heavy cream, whipping cream. And we're going to go ahead and turn this on really high until we get soft peaks. So let's see where we are. One of the things I can say is it's having a little bit of trouble doing 1 cup. So it may be that you just have to do 2 cups of cream in this. And now we're going to put in 2 tablespoons of confectioner's sugar. And we're going to put in 1 teaspoon of vanilla. Give it a little flavor and sweetness. We have whipped cream. So it did a good job on whipping the cream. I would say that because of the shape of the bowl, it has trouble doing small amounts. So 1 cup of cream is not that great in it. It took forever for it to get going. 2 cups, it would have done a lot better. So for that, I'm going to downgrade it and give it a B. Okay, now we're going to test out the paddle. I have that on the mixer here, and we're going to make some Snickerdoodles. If you want the full recipe for that, I'll put a link down in the description. We did a video on these cookies before, and I absolutely love them. They're about one of my favorites. So in our bowl of our mixer, we have 2 sticks of butter. And we're going to go ahead and cream these a little bit. I have these softened. And then we're going to put in 1.5 cups of sugar. And then we're going to cream the butter and the sugar until they're light and fluffy. One of the things that I can say is there's a little bit of shaking around of the mixer just with these basic ingredients. I find that a lot with tilt heads, and this one is definitely no exception to that. So let's stop this just for a second, and I'm going to scrape it down, and then we'll let it go for a good 2 minutes till this is fully creamed. You can tell when it's creamed because it starts getting a lighter color. We're going to add in 2 eggs. eggs one at a time, and we're going to beat them in between. I'm going to add 2 teaspoons of vanilla. And let me scrape this down real quick again. So in here we have our dry ingredients. I have my flour, my salt, my baking soda, and my cream of tartar. I already combined this in here just to make it a little quicker, and we're going to start putting it in the mixer. Let me just scrape this down real quick, and then we'll just give it one quick little whirl, just to make sure it's all incorporated. We get a lot of shake in these upper speeds. Then it quiets down a little bit, but right in this area, like 6 and 7, it gets a little bit of shake to it. The batter looks really nice. I did have to scrape it down a few times. I don't think they have a scraper beater for this. Look at the bottom here to see if it incorporated everything. It did a fairly decent job. A little bit of shake on the head of it that I really don't like, but otherwise it did a pretty good job, so I'm going to give it an A-. So now we're doing the true test of any stand mixer. We're going to make some bread dough. So we're going to make a basic white dough that comes out of the instruction manual for the Cuisinart mixer. So I do that because I want to say that, you know, they say it can make bread and they give you a recipe. It should at least be able to make the bread that they recommend, right? So we're going to put 1.5 cups of water in here. This I have at about 110 degrees. And let me raise the lid here. I'm going to go ahead and put our sugar in here. I have a tablespoon of sugar. This is going to help feed the yeast, but I'm using instant yeast. I have 1.5 teaspoons of instant yeast. So we don't really have to let this bloom in here. I'm just going to really quick turn it on just to get a little stir action on it. But since it's instant yeast, it should be able to go for it. So we have 3 tablespoons of unsalted butter. You can use salted or unsalted, it doesn't really matter. I also have 1/4 cup of non-fat dry milk. And so we're going to turn this on and we're going to start putting our flour in here, and then we'll put our salt. So I'm going to put about half the flour, and then I'm going to put our salt. One of the reasons you don't want to put the salt in just immediately into the water is salt will kill your yeast. So you want to get some flour in there to separate your salt from the yeast. So we're going to put this on like a 2. 2.5. And I have 4 cups of bread flour, and we're going to get going here. And I have about half of the flour in now. And we're going to go ahead ahead and put our salt in. And we're going to put the rest of the flour in. So I just took the dough guard off just so we can see it a little better. Things I noticed, the head is moving around a little bit, but the motor is not struggling at all with it. It does seem to be moving the dough around. Some mixers I've seen, it just seems like it just runs the dough around in circles. It doesn't actually do any kneading. And this kind of has a spiral hook like the KitchenAid, and it seems to be kneading okay. We'll see in the final product. So the dough is a little on the sticky side, so I'm just going to put a little tiny bit of flour in there to dry it up a little bit. You always have to adjust your dough. You're never going to have exact measurements either way, because it's either going to be, your flour is going to be dry, it's going to be too humid. You will always have to adjust it with a little flour or a little bit of water. So let's check it and see how we're looking here. You can tell when your dough is done kneading if you want the gluten to be developed. So you take a little piece of dough and you stretch it and you see if you can get a thin sort of sheath in there. It's breaking up a little bit, but it's coming along, so let's let it knead a little bit longer. The motor seems to be handling it fairly well. We do have a little twisting on the mixer head. I don't think too big of a batch would be all that great for it, but you know, it's handling its own. Okay, so I put a little flour out and we have it out on a board here, and I'm just going to do a little bit of kneading. And one of the things I can tell you is this is a beautiful dough. It is absolutely gorgeous. We put really a nice amount of liquid in here to flour. It's nicely hydrated. The mixer did a really good job. Let's see if we have a little bit of a window here. It's tearing a little bit, but it's like it's kind of a sticky dough, so it just feels really nice. I could actually just sit here and knead this for quite some time because it's a really nice feeling dough. It's beautiful. Look at how nice and smooth that is. The Cuisinart did an outstanding job of kneading it. A little scary on the tilt head. I think if I did 3 or 4 loaves of bread, I think it wouldn't do that too well, but a single loaf, I think it did a really, really nice job. So I officially give it an A-.
Technical part, we use this trusty, and it never raised more than 10 degrees over ambient. So the motor warmed a little bit, but not hot. Amy heard some geary, like the gears were chugging, which is why she's kind of concerned about not putting too many loaves in there at once. But from a temperature perspective, it held its own.
Yeah, for a single batch, it did a really good job. So hear ye, all stand for your review for the Cuisinart Stand Mixer.
The Honorable Judge Amy is present.
Yes. My assessment of it, on the whipped cream, I really think that a really small amount of cream in here, the whip just really didn't get down there to the bottom, and it took a while for it to foam up a little bit where it was actually beating it. That was the concern I had on that. Otherwise, it did a fairly decent job whipping. I can't say that it put a huge amount of air in it that I would like to see. So it was okay, right? I gave it a really good grade. I think I probably was a little generous. In terms of the cookies, I think it did a really good job. I wouldn't do like a triple batch in this thing because I don't think it really could handle it. But for what we did, it did a fair job. So for the dough, I really think that it did a decent job with the kneading on the dough. The dough was really beautiful. I loved handling it and kneading it out on the board. It was really great. I really think though that it's limited to a single batch of dough. You can pretty much, that was a 2-pound loaf that I did. Anything more than that, you're really going to tax it. I think the motor did well, but again, the tilt head, it just, it worked it a little too much. So if you are only going to do a single batch of bread dough, the Cuisinart mixer, it's a good little choice if you're totally against getting a KitchenAid. Some people just want a different mixer other than the KitchenAid, and I can understand that. I think it does have a lot of attachments. I think it's kind of a little weird that they have like this slow, medium, and fast hubs on there. I don't know why they do that. The speed could be controlled by your speed down here. I don't think they really need that. And this is easy to take on and take off, but I don't really see what the need for that is. Maybe it has to do with the overall design. I don't know. KitchenAid doesn't have that. KitchenAid does have a lot of additional attachments that Cuisinart doesn't have, but Cuisinart does have a respectable amount of attachment, a food processor, a blender, the grinder, and for a mixer that's not as widespread used, it has a decent amount of attachments. So I give the Cuisinart Stand Mixer a B. I think it's a good little mixer. I think you can actually get a good deal on it. You really have to watch the prices though, because the price on this mixer swings all the way from the mid $100, $200. Some people are turning around selling it for $349 and $449. I think the manufacturer's website, it's like $400 and something, and that's ridiculous. I think you can get it on Amazon for about $199. Certainly a lot expensive than the Artisan, which is generally about $350. So if that's a issue, then it is a lot less expensive. Putting it up against the Classic Plus, the 4.5 Quart KitchenAid, you can usually get around the $249, $200 price range if you find it on sale. This is a little bit bigger. For some reason, I like my little Classic Plus. Not to say that I'm just 100% KitchenAid is everything, but I think, it is somewhat of the standard because that's what I've used for so long. I think the Cuisinart is a good little mixer. I think if you find a good deal on one, you can make a lot of basic recipes and have a good time. If you like this video, please subscribe below and leave me a comment and a like, and visit my website at amylearnstocook.com. I'm also on Twitter and Pinterest at amylearnstocook.
Hear ye, rise for the Honorable Amy Judge.